Hey, what is up YouTube and Twitch? Kolst here. So having a special video here today because this is only the second time we've ever done one of these videos. This is a prediction video. Well, it's a couple things. It's dual purpose. It is a review of the entire rotation we have here, which we'll talk about for a little bit. And it is also a prediction of which classes will be the best classes, worst classes, trying to, as best as we can, sort order the class power level for this new rotation. This is going to be a very interesting rotation because, as it says here, this is a new season, which is the first season for the new arena leaderboard, which we'll be talking about. They actually did, by the way, clarify how this works, and the way it works is it's kind of like a running average, not really, which has problems. It's slightly better, but it's functionally like running average. So there are things about that. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that right now, but essentially it is very important to actually start out of the gun very fast and get really good runs in the beginning if you actually want to be on the leaderboard and have the highest finish possible. So this will theoretically be much more useful than it ever has been in the past to actually know which classes are the best. And as I believe I said, this is an entirely standard rotation, and one of the things that's very critical about that is actually that if you look at this here, normally, I think if you go to current arena cards here, it's still the old ones. This is a normal size arena rotation. There are 1,055 cards, it's always like something between 1,000 and 1,100. That's normal. Because it's all of standard and this is a full standard year, 6 sets, there's over 1,300 cards, so there are just way more cards in Arena than normal. So I think that may actually be a good thing, just because that makes it so that you just don't see any individual card too much. So, we're used to this meta. We're coming from this meta where they had so many, you would see like, there are certain cards that are in like 70% of decks with like 1.6 copies, which means literally there are more like Canal Sloggers, for example, than there are Shamans. But that definitely will not be the case anymore. So that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, power level is going to be way higher, as Soul mentions in chat, and yeah, it's just going to be very, very different. But hopefully in mostly good ways, because there aren't going to be nearly as many bad cards in the game, and I think a lot of people will be looking forward to that. So that's all we have to, I think that's all we have to say about the rotation. So let me introduce this giant spreadsheet here. Well, this is the not quite so giant spreadsheet. This is the giant spreadsheet we're actually going to be filling out here. The reason I have this spreadsheet is that this was the spreadsheet from the last time we did this, 8 or 10 months ago actually. We were able to get a very good prediction that time of what the exact class order was. I believe my main mistakes were I overrated Shaman because I think I overrated their core set, overrated their hero power, and I underrated Druid mainly because I just forgot that Miracle Growth was a card. I missed it in my reviews and literally didn't know it existed, so but otherwise we pretty much rank ordered everything perfectly. So we're going to try to outperform that performance with this review here. And fortunately, because when we did that April 2022 review, there were a lot of sets, United and Stormwind, Alterac, Valley, Sunken City, and the core set. These are all the same. So we basically get to start. Fortunately, we have such a giant spreadsheet to fill out, but half of it's already filled out. I did make a few slight modifications to some of the values just to correct for a couple things, like Snowfall Guardian, for example, got nerfed, so that hurt Shaman. I'm not going to talk about all those individual adjustments we did, or I did there, but that is about it for that. And then we're going to fill out, I'll go over some of the old sets just to make it, a complete review, but we're going to spend most of our time just talking about the sets that have not already been reviewed here. And a few other things to talk about. There's going to be a lot of explaining how the methodology here. But essentially, I have a score associated with each set that each class is trying to earn points out of. Basically, since all the sets are 13 cards per class, it's pretty simple. I'm just giving 7 points per 13 cards, essentially, and everything is normalized kind of to that. I have 5 points to a hero power. This should add up, I believe, since this This is Death Knight only. This adds up to 60 points per class that isn't Death Knight and 50 points for Death Knight. So Death Knight's getting a modification factor to normalize it for that. But basically, you know, it should be an idea is it's an apples to apples comparison. Because the idea is basically that, you know, you can just average out essentially the value of cards that are going to be in Arena, and that's going to be the power level classes, because that's mostly it. And we will keep in mind that cards that are common, for example, are much more important. They are weighted much more heavily because, you know, they're common, so you just see them way more often. But that is essentially it. And the other complicated thing is that Death Knight is going to be a real wild card, because, you know, one thing is that you also kind of have to assume that you at least can predict what kind of modifications Blizzard does. Blizzard could do anything, basically. Right now, for example, Shaman is way adjusted up, and, you know, Death Knight is way adjusted down. Which actually, I forgot to do this. I should probably put this here. So I have this adjust factor at the end to kind of account for that, but this is basically a guess. We're going to have a total for assuming they do nothing, which I don't think they will do. I think they will do something, and then we'll have this adjust factor to kind of guess, kind of assuming they're doing what they have done currently, assuming the current adjustments stick around. And, you know, that'll end up with our total at the end there. So I believe that's basically it. Oh yeah, and also Death Knight gets really confusing because of the runes, and people can draft it. It's like Death Knight's going to be kind of a wild card for this thing, but, you know, we'll try our best, basically. So with that, let's get started with reviewing some cards. So I guess we will start out by going through Forged in the Barrens. This will be our opportunity to first review all of these classes cards. So we will go... please tell me, yeah, okay, I did these in the order that they show up. Hopefully, right? Oh, I didn't. Fuck. Oh, well. We will try. Anyway, so Demon Hunter here. So Demon Hunter has a lot of really good tempo in this set. They have a really good legendary, but again, we're not going to be looking at legendaries too much because it's a legendary. However, this one is important because you can actually generate it via Outcast. But just generally speaking, you know, there's some synergy with death rattles and stuff. There's a lot of good cards in this set. I think this is definitely at least a pretty solid rotation. There's really, except for, I guess, Sigil, but that's... The Sigils are bad, but those are higher rarity. And all the low rarity cards are good. So this is a solid set for Demon Hunter. Probably not super broken. So, you know, this is an idea of, I think, what we'll give like a 6 out of 7 to. So, oh, my... the sizes are wrong, not like this. Formatting, Omega Law. Hold up. Okay. Center. Good. So this is a pretty good set for Demon Hunter, but it can get better. I think it's possible to have a better set here, so we'll give it a 6 out of 7 here. Moving on next to Druid. So Druid unfortunately suffered because Battleguard was one of those cards that was super insane, but it was nerfed. It used to be a 2-mana 2/3, now it's a 2/2. Can still function the same way, can create some snowballs, but that hurts. And overall, you know, there's a handful of pretty bad cards here, although most of them are higher rarity. But a lot of situational stuff. I mean, this is good, but everything else is kind of meh, honestly. And the best card here, Druid of the Plains, that's a very good card, but it's epic, so you just won't see it that much. So overall, this is a pretty weak set for Druid. It's definitely no higher than a 4. I would say. Maybe it's still a 4. I think I'll still give it a 4. This is an okay card. That's a common. So, yeah, it's either a 3 or a 4. We'll see. We might adjust. We'll see how we compare it to other stuff. I'm not sure exactly how strict I should be. Let me check. Actually, Rogue is a 3.5. Let me Rogue Stormwind is a 3.5. Let's just compare to that and see whether or not we think that's better or worse than that. Yeah, this is a set where they only had like I guess they have a few good cards. It might actually be worse than this. They have some bad cards as well, but they're high rarity. Maybe it is worse than this. Maybe it is a 3. Because this is, it's okay. I don't know, maybe we settle for a 3.5. It's probably about the same. Let's go 3.5. Alright. We'll try not to linger too much on individual class scores though, because, you know, we're not exactly doing a hard science here. The idea is just to be pretty close overall, right? So next up we have Hunter in this class. I already see a lot of really good cards here. Piercing Shot's really good. Venom Strike Bow was insane. Now Venom Strike Bow is 1 mana though, but and has 3 charges with the 3-drop. But yeah, Pack Code is really good. Any Discover is going to be insane with the standard rotation, even better than it used to be, right? Piercing Shot's good. There's a lot of really good cards here. Caravan can win the game by itself. This is good. Like, there's a lot of really, really good cards here. This might be a 7. This is like a generous 7, I want to say. It might be a 7. It's either a 6 or a 7. I think it's better than Demon Hunter, but probably not by a lot. But yeah, I think I'm willing to give this a 7. It's like a 7 or a 6.5 maybe. I'll just give them a 7 for now. So we'll go with that. Next up we have Mage. So Mage has, let's see, Runed Orb is really, really good. Reckless Apprentice is quite good. They have some cards that are a little bit weird and situational, things you don't really want to draft. Dungeoneer, though, is really good. Oasis Ally is kind of a trap that everyone falls into. Rhyme Tongue is good. But there's going to be, I guess, a lot more good secrets again. Secrets have been really bad recently because there's no synergy. There's not enough synergy for them right now. And you have to, like, always pay the cost of it, essentially, so it's a little bit weird. Yeah, overall, not a great set. I mean, it has Runed Orb. Runed Orb is insane. But it's also, yeah, it's a good set, right? But we gave a 6 to Demon Hunter. Is it? Maybe it's about the same as Demon Hunter. The Demon Hunter cards are more solid, but I mean, you kind of have to give like a point for Runed Orb, I feel like, because that card's just going to be very good. The one thing is that Discover's going to be less likely to hit anything specific because the card pool is so big. But I don't know, it's pretty good. I think we'll give Mage a 6 here. That seems reasonable. Move on to Paladin here. So Paladin, they have one of the good caravans here. Judgment of Justice, a good secret. They have the secret weapon, but that would often be a trap. They have some other secret synergy. Buckler was a very, very good card. That could very much win games. Sermon was a bit of a trap, but it could also be very good. And Party Up is one of those really good late game spread cards. Although honestly, by modern standards, it's probably almost a little bit slow, I want to say. So overall, I mean, the funny thing is, like, this is a good set, but this is a pretty weak set for Paladin, actually. But it's for Paladin. Paladin has really good cards almost always, so that's still definitely a 5, maybe still a 6. Buckler does kind of give 2 points on its own. Yeah, we'll go 6 because of Buckler. Kind of like how we went 6 because of Runed Orb, I think we'll go 6 because of Buckler. Let's just move on in the interest of time. So now we have Priest here. Priest has a few okay cards, a bunch of like kind of situational stuff, right? Because you have like some of these weird Priesty build-around cards that aren't always amazing. Priest of Anshe often like a 7-mana 8/8 time, which is great, but I mean, not that great really. Shower's okay, 4/2 doesn't work out great in Arena. They do have Caravan, which has the ability to just win games by itself automatically. And getting spells from your deck is good. Condemn is good, but it's high rarity. And they do get a board clear, which is kind of conditional, but pretty good. And they do have Dungeoneer also to draw cards. So like the thing is that this is a priesty set, right? It allows you to do priesty things. But the objective power level of a lot of these cards just isn't super high. But I think that makes it like pretty good overall. I'm thinking like maybe like a 5 out of 7 for this one. Because they're fine, it's just not, it's not great. It's a lot better than like Druid's set was. So we'll move on. Oh, by the way, I probably should mention this a while ago. We do have Death Knight at 0 for a lot of these as a result because of, you know, there are no Death Knight cards in these classes. So that's where the normalization, I did mention the normalization, but that's how, you know, why that's there if that wasn't clear already. Anyway, we will move on to Rogue here. So Rogue, this was not, well, at the time, I don't know, this is an interesting set, because Ambusher, if you're my opponent, you always draw this card on turn 4, and if you play this on turn 4 top decked, you usually win the game. I cannot tell you how often that happened to me. I think this card was adjusted up too. This would happen so often, it was unbelievable. But anyway, there are some cards that got worse, right? Because Octobot used to be a 2-drop, and as a 2-drop it was even not that great in Arena. As a 3-drop is pretty unpickable. Stab is cool, but there's a bunch of weird things. Like, I don't, like, Yoink wasn't that great anyway. Yeah, Stab is very important though, just that Rogue's been missing that reach kind of, right? So that's important, and Field Contact can be good, but it's a little bit hard to make work in Arena. Moxton's a good card, but it's limited upside, right? So not a lot of great cards here. So 4 might be too low, but I feel like 5 might be too high. Is this better than Priest set? Priest was a 5. I don't think so. Let's give it a 4.5. I think it's a little bit worse, maybe. It seems reasonable enough. So let's move on now to Shaman. So Shaman has, oh, this is where Flurgle was. Yeah, this was a bunch of Murlocs and stuff. So a lot of just good tempo cards. Shaman's been kind of missing that recently. They don't really have enough good tempo, and they have a lot of good tempo. Dungeoneer, one of the better Dungeoneers, because you can actually get this pretty often. Most of your spells, not always, and there's a lot of non-nature spells that you're probably going to be drafting now. This might be worse than it was, but still there's a decent chance you still just hit a nature spell and then you get an extra draw for this, so it's kind of nuts. Earth Revenant was always one of the highest win rate cards, like, in the game, like, period, outside of, like, super legendaries. So yeah, there's like some elementals, but that's super high rarity. But overall, I mean, there's almost no, I guess the Caravan was a little bit weak, probably will be weak because the dilution's not going to make it likely get a bunch of these Murlocs. But otherwise, I mean, there's no, almost all these cards are good, right? So this is a very good set. Just not a lot that's like super broken. Like, I don't think we can give this a 7, but this is definitely at least a 6. This will be on YouTube, yes. And the patch is not live, otherwise we would be playing and not doing this. But the patch should be live in like 4.5 hours as of right now. Most likely. But yeah, so this is like maybe a 6, maybe a 6.5. This is better than like Warlock, for example. Wait, not Warlock. Wait, what did I say instead of Warlock? Did I do Warlock yet? I didn't do Warlock. What did I put 6 in? That was supposed to be Warlock, chat. Oh no, not like this. Was that just... Oh, that was supposed to be Paladin, right? Yeah. Okay. So is this better than... Is this better than Paladin? It might be. Maybe we'll give it a 6.5. Maybe 6. It's about the same. Maybe slightly better. Probably about the same. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to, like, I'll give it a 6.5. I'm gonna try to not, like, linger on anything too much. We just want to be close, right? So, moving on to Warlock here. They have some pretty good cards here. Final Gasp is very good in a common. Grimoire is pretty good and a common. Imswarm is very good and a common. Unshadow Stable Blast as well. Cabal Outfitter as well. Soul Rend, one of the best AoEs ever printed. Bristleback, very good if you happen to have Soul Rends and stuff. Yeah, this is just a very good set. Stealer Souls, unfortunately, was nerfed. What, it used to be like 4 mana. You usually didn't draft that too much. But yeah, I mean, this is an easy 7, right? Like, this is just... They have like 5 premium commons here, or at least 4, but yeah, like... Actually 5. Like all 5 of their commons. Like if anything, we give them an 8 out of 7 for this set, because this is insane. This is actually just nuts. I think, yeah, honestly, I think we give them an 8 out of 7 because, you know, we make the rules. Screw it. So yeah, they get an 8 out of 7 for this. This is bonkers. So, last one here we have is Warrior. So Warrior, really good card is Conditioning, but that's a rare. Outrider's Axe as well, but also a rare. Whirling Combatant, very good since they buffed it. Was good before too. Anchorman, also very good. But then otherwise, I mean, this is good. But a couple like situational cards, the Taunt Synergy, for example. But the new taunts are coming in too. We happen to know that the new set's bringing in some Taunt Synergy, so that might actually work out better than you would think. Also, it's going to be hard to draft for any synergy just because of the draft pool being so large, but overall, I mean, this is one of the rare cases where Warrior actually got a good set. I think this might be, I think this might be a 7, because couple good commons here. It might be a little high to give them a 7, but the rares are really good as well. So I think we'll give Warrior a 7. Warrior needs all the points they can get, basically. So that's that. And let's just talk about really fast the neutrals, even though we're not evaluating these really at all, but just things to point out. Like Frenzy is coming back. Watch Post should still be banned as far as we know, so you don't have to worry about that. There's some good just neutral drops here like Ectoplasm and Sunwall Initiate. Scorpid is coming back. There's going to be a lot of Spell Discover in this set. Premium card here, Darkspear Berserker as well. A lot of just good curve drops, and Femoral Protector is a big late game card, going to be relevant for long classes, so pretty good. I think all the sets are going to be good neutral sets, but yeah, just very interesting. Yo, by the way, Redbeard has just rated us. Welcome everyone from Redbeard's channel. We are doing a card review, so not gonna, I don't want to explain everything again because of YouTube, but essentially what we're doing is we're filling out this spreadsheet. We are trying to evaluate the power level of all the cards that are rotating in relative to each other to guess which the top classes will be. So we have a lot of this already filled out from the last time we did this, which was 10 months ago. But otherwise we're just filling out the missing parts of the spreadsheet here. So yep, we just completed Forged in the Barrens. We'll go really quickly over the sets that we've already done here. So we'll go through United Stormwind, Alterac Valley, and Sunken City, but we'll go fast because we already have scores for all of these. So with that, let's do that. So United in Stormwind here. Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter, this is a very good set for us. Demon Hunter, I'll go through this one really fast because these are cards that are in the game right now, but just to know that they're from United and Stormwind, you know, like Fell Barrage, Chaos Leech, Lookout. Very good set, some card draw there. Brute is here. Even though some of these, it's funny, some of the cards are wrong on the website. This thing still shows an 8, even though it was buffed to 7, so it's a thing to keep in mind. But yeah, pretty good set for Demon Hunter there. Druid, very, very good set for Druid. This was one of those unbelievably powerful sets, because this is where Park Panther was, Kodo Mount, Oracle, Squirrel, Druid the Reef, Sow the Swale. Cards that are currently super boosted in offering rate as well. Composting, this was one of those super, super, super crazy power sets for Druid. For Hunter here, also a very good set for Hunter. This is where some of the Death Rattle cheese came in with all of, well, really all of this, which has been very relevant. The current rotation, Devouring Swarm as well. Aim Shot, very good finisher. Ramming Mount, banned card, but still discoverable as of now. But yeah, if Ramming Mount was, I think we only have, what do I have this rated as actually? This was actually only a 5. That might be a little too low, actually. The thing is Ramming Mount being banned makes it lower, but Rats is in. Well, actually, let's give a point here. This is probably worthy of a 6, because this is a good set. We are rating each set out of a 7. That was, I probably could have changed this, but it made sense when I did it, so the first time. We'll go with that. Also, that might have those scores were initially done without the mini set, so that might have impacted it as well. Did I have a 6 here? Oh yeah, that should be a 7. So yeah, I guess we should go through and just validate these really fast, because yeah, that should definitely be a 7. Mage here, so Mage got better. I already adjusted Mage, I know, because Parrot was 8 mana when it came out, which made it like completely nearly unpickable. But at 6 mana, it's actually very good. It's been very meta defining, and obviously there are a lot of good cards here. First Flame, Fire Sale, Arcane Overflow, Evoker, Pyromancer is solid. Just a lot of good cards here, so gave them a 6 for that. Paladin here. This is an interesting one because that's where Bannerman is. Bannerman currently is nerfed in offering rate, but they might undo that. We'll see. But yeah, this was a very, very good set for Paladin. They have Righteous Defense, Squawker, Wealth Redistributor. City Tax is good. Blessed Goods is good. I wonder how good the Blessed Goods pool will be. Probably pretty, you'd have to imagine it's pretty good. You can hit like the Colossal, for example, but the odds of hitting anything specific again is just going to be really low due to the extremely large set. Because of the standard rotation, I did mention this earlier, but there are 1,400 cards in Arena, roughly. There are usually closer to 1,000. So it's just anything that discovers, you're less likely to hit something specific, and you're less likely to draft any specific card because of that. But yeah. So in any case, it's a very, very good set for Paladin. Yeah, we give him a 7 for that. Priest here, they have some of these weird shadow spell stuff, which at the time was not very good actually, but there's going to be more, because the new set is also actually very shadow heavy, so that's going to make that stuff a bit better than it was even. And this is where Alec Mount was as well. Copycat's extremely, extremely good. So overall, very, very good set for Priest. Wonder, did I give them a 7 for this? No, I gave them a 5 for that. Some of these cards might have been mini set as well. This definitely goes up to at least a 6. Honestly, this, I think because of the shadow synergy and stuff, I think I'm willing to give them a 7 for this. That will go up as well. Good thing we went through these actually. Next up we have Stormwind. Do I consider the synergy? A little bit, but I'm not worried too much about that. Next up is Rogue. So Rogue, couple good tradables, but overall this was not a great set for Rogue. Cutlass is fine, Extortion's fine, but some of these cards are a little bit weird. Operative's actually pretty good, but a couple of these cards are very bad, so not a great set for him, right? SI7, man, it's going to be like even harder to get like SI7 synergy, right? This is going to be like completely unpickable. But sketchy information. Didn't they nerfed this card to 4 as well, right? So like that one's actually even worse too. So I had a 3.5. That might be a little bit harsh, but I'll keep it. Next up, Shaman. So Shaman, some of these very good cards are here, like Canal Slogger. Canal Slogger, more impactful because it is at least currently boosted up in offering rate. Macaw is here as well. You're not going to have, because they did hurt Snowfall Guardian. Snowfall got nerfed very heavily. It's that's still going to be a thing, but probably not as much a thing as it was. But overall, pretty good set. Forgeborn unfortunately got nerfed as well. That used to be a 4-mana 4/5, but Sucker Hook can win games by itself. Slogger's good. Macaw can be very, very good in certain decks. Tiny Toys is very good, but it's high rarity. Probably haven't mentioned for anyone that came in recently. We are trying to evaluate considering the lower rarity cards much more heavily, basically because those are the cards you are offered more on draft. So trying to normalize for that as best as we can. So overall, a pretty good set for Shaman. What do we have it here? We have him at a 5.5. I think that's fair, because there's some good cards, but also some not so great cards. So I think that's reasonable. Next up is Warlock. So Warlock has a very good set here because it's good, but it's an epic. Very good tempo cards here, some healing, some self-damage synergy. This is going to be in with Unstable Shadow Blast as well. Makes it very good. Demonic Assault, boost to an offering rate, one of the very premium cards here that's sticking around. And some Demon Synergy, Hullbreaker solid if you can afford to take it. And this is an epic, but also one of those cards that could just win the game. So a lot of very good cards in this set. Where do we give them? 5.5. That definitely seems too low. So let's see, because there are a couple bad cards. There's definitely at least a 6, though, maybe even a 6.5. Probably underrated Demonic Assault initially, to be honest. I think we give him a 6.5 for this. Very good cards here. And last up is Warrior. So Warrior has some of these pirate synergies here. There's going to be a decent amount of pirates, right? But it's going to be less consistent than it was. I remember even in the older metas, a lot of times you would draft a Harbor Scamp and then you would get no pirates. And the odds of that happening is probably going to be higher, not lower. So overall, I mean, if you can get a lot of this stuff, you will. Freebooter is super high offering rate right now. So assuming that that continues, then that would be a thing. But I think overall this is not a great set for Warrior, but it's not terrible, right? I think it's okay. I think we have meta 5. That seems reasonable enough. Yeah, they do have the new pirate as well. So I think like Scamp will be good, but some of these cards just aren't great, right? This still won't be like super... Honestly, this will be pretty consistent, but yeah. I think there's enough situational stuff that will keep them at A5 here. And then for the United Stormwind neutrals, Deeper Engineer should still be banned. Otherwise, I don't think we need to go over these too much because these are the cards that have been in rotation already, so not too much to really think about there. But you know, Battlemaster is going to be pretty crazy with some of the things that are in, like the new 3-mana rogue. The new 3-mana 10/10 in rogue is going to be pretty funny with that. But yeah, so that is that. So moving on for that, next up we have Alterac Valley. Who do we have right here? Currently we have like Shaman and Druid as the winners of the set. We'll see if we still think that here. So first off is Demon Hunter. Oh yeah, this is the set that has all of the hero cards in, as far as we know, which I don't think they're going to change. The hero cards are all not in the game, so that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, there's some very good cards here. Vanguard is nuts. This card is pretty good. This card is good. Flag Runner can be very good with some of the other synergies you have in Demon Hunter. Flanking is insane. This card can be this card is actually also very insane. This was a mini set card, so that wasn't in the first time we evaluated this set. So this is, I mean, a very good card. For a while this card was nerfed, but they unnerfed it, so this is very good. The only like bad thing, like this card is like a super trap. You don't actually want to take this usually, but still overall a very good set for Demon Hunter. This card's also trap, and this card's unplayable, but it's high rarity. So very good set. What do we have him at? We have him at a 6. It's probably, might be a little low. As I said, like that was before. You can actually see, by the way, if you didn't know, this is not a mini set card. You can actually see on the art which one was a mini set card. This one was, right? You can see the card there. The card actually indicates if there's a card and a logo, that means it's actually part of the mini set. That's a new thing I did not learn until very recently. You can see it's slightly better here. See, that one is. That one does not have the card, so that is not mini set. That was funny. It's a fun thing I didn't know until a long time ago. So I think because of the addition of that rare in the mini set, we'll up them to 6.5. These were initially done in our older spreadsheet from the last time we did this when we didn't have the mini set. So some of the scores are going to be a bit different as a result. Next up we have Druid. This is an insane set for Druid. Boomkin's very good. Raid Negotiator. Raid Negotiator probably will be less good than it was actually. Because this thing was made really nuts by just the fact that, you know, you had like the 5-mana spell in one of the other sets that was also in. The one that gives you the Orca and all the rushes. At super high odds of hitting it. You could hit that, and you could also hit Cenarius really high. But now, because of that dilution, this will probably be a bit worse, actually. You'll be a lot more likely to just get, like, a 1-mana spell. That isn't going to be nearly as high impact. So I bet this is worse than it used to be, but, like, anyway. Obviously, scale's insane, but they ended up nerfing it in offering rate. This card's very good. Card can be very, very good as well. This card's very good. This is insanely good, too. Like, there's a whole lot of really, really good cards here. They were an easy 7. Next up is Hunter. So Hunter, they have Bloodseeker here, which is one of those cards that can win the game by itself. A couple very good late game cards for Hunter, having the Mountain Bear. It's going to be something that, imagine if Hunter had Mountain Bear right now. That would be pretty insane. But yeah, Dragonbane Shot was okay. Actually, I didn't really take this much myself, but now this is unpickable because they nerfed it to 3 mana. It was okay at 2, right? But now it's just okay. Pet Collector. I wonder how consistent Pet Collector will be. That's a big question mark, right? But overall, I mean, there's a lot of weird situational stuff here, but a lot of it's high rarity. This is still, so by average card quality, this is not a great set, but the key thing is that the best cards are all common, right? Which is Mountain Bear and Bloodseeker, and even Pet Collector probably, and Furious Howl as well. So all the good cards are common, so this is actually a better set than it looks like. Otherwise it would actually be pretty bad. But we have it here, we have it at 5.5. It's probably reasonable, just because there is still... effectively every 2 rares is a common, and every 4 epics is a common. So, like, you know, having a whole bunch of bad rares still dilutes the pool a bit, but yeah. Still a decent set for Hunter. Moving on to Mage here. So Mage has a lot of good cards here. Amulet is here, but Amulet was nerfed to like they lowered it from like 40% of decks to like 5% of decks. They gave it like a legendary treatment basically. We'll see if that continues. And they have a Rune of the Archmage as well, because that's a huge variable for this one. We don't know if they're gonna keep that. Whether or not this is a effectively legendary or a common makes a huge difference in how we should evaluate this set here. But even if you assume it's a legendary, Snowflurry is still good. This is still really good. Snowman's still very good. They never nerfed that one. They never nerfed Rune either. So still a good set. This should probably be, I think, I'm not sure if this is true, but you're probably going to be able to get more spells than we're used to because of... It would make sense just because there's a higher proportion of class cards in the game with the full rotation. Because there's less neutrals. So that should actually make a bit of a difference here. So I think this is a very good set for Mage. Yo, Hunter Ace with the raid. What is up? We are doing a very nerdy card review here. Because we are reviewing the entire arena rotation that is coming in, which is basically just all of standard. But what we are attempting to do is to actually evaluate the power level of each set for each class and basically add it up. Because at the end of the day, basically the power level of arena is mostly, until Blizzard tinkers with it, the average value of all the cards. So this is basically how we're trying to evaluate that. So as I said, this was a good set for Mage. I think let's actually bump this up to a 6. We have existing ratings for a couple of the sets, these 2 sets that we're working on right now, because we had done them like 10 months ago, but these did not include the mini set as of the time, I believe, so they might be slightly off. We may have different understanding of the values anyway. So, overall pretty good cards for Mage here. The most crazy shaman run, but only had 11 wins. Yeah, it's just, this meta has been really tough. I think with the new meta, it should be a lot more good runs, will more consistently go good results. 11's still really, really good for a shaman in this meta. But yeah, it can be a little random because it's so much as of just not getting asked a lord and stuff, right? You know. But anyway, let's move on to shaman here. Yeah, there are issues with like the new leaderboard system. I'll talk about it. I think I tweeted about it already. I made a newer tweet about it, but I don't want to talk too much about it. I'll you know, let the optimism stay for now, and then we'll be more critical later. So this is a very good set for a paladin. Ring of Courage is extremely good. This is really good. Couple very good cards here, but Brasswing is high rarity. I should mention once again that we're considering cards higher weight when they're common because these are the cards that you see more often in the draft, basically. So, you know, there's a couple of good high rarity cards. Templar Captain wins the game by itself often. Brasswing can as well, but it doesn't always work. But these are both very, very good cards. Hero card, not in Arena, if anyone wasn't aware. Unless you randomly generate them somehow. A Bridge also was an extremely, extremely good card. So even though some of these cards are high rarity, really the best cards are all high rarity, this is still an extremely, extremely good step for Paladin. So let's see, what do we have him at? We have him at a 6.5, probably just because I think we'll keep it there, just punishing him a little bit for the super high rarity. But honestly, I don't know, this might be a 7. I think we bump him up to 7. Because, yeah, I probably was underrating Bridge at the time, to be honest. So, yeah, we'll go with that. How come this card's not using Pure Paladin? They just... Hunter Ace might know better than me, but, like, I played some Paladin, and, like, there's just better cards. I cut that from some of my lists, like, a year ago. Next up... Oh, did I... Oh, wait, how did I do that? Yeah, right, I updated the wrong one. Thanks for that. How did I... Yeah, alright. Thanks for catching me on that. Next up, we have Priest here. Deliverance is a very good card because you can get some pretty decent scams out of that. Bless usually isn't... Bless has moments, but it's not great. This is one of the best legendaries to ever exist in Arena, actually. This 4-mana mind control, pretty good. You get this with a Brewmaster. Or you just steal a taunt or something. This thing's insane. Spirit Guide used to be a little weird because you wouldn't always draw 2 off of it. But, you know, even if you draw 1, it's very good. Disciple, very good. This card is unplayable, though, which is a common, so that hurts a little bit, but pretty good set. This thing, again, like, you just usually don't actually have the ability to activate it, so that's a little bit weird. There's some situational stuff. This thing's only good if you're already winning, but can be very good. Overall, yeah, it's like a hit or miss. Pretty good cards overall, but just a little bit inconsistent, so... What do we have him here? Well, we have him at a 4. I think it's a bit better than that. I was definitely under-evaluating Deliverance, I think, at the time. This is very good too. It's definitely like at least a 5. I'll give him at least a 5. Maybe even, that might be a little low. I don't know, there's a lot of situational stuff. They get punished hard for having a neutral, I think. We'll keep him there. Seems reasonable enough. Next up, we have Rogue. Rogue has Reconnaissance, very good card. Tooth. Tooth was already an extremely good arena card at 3 mana, and then they buffed it to 2. Seraphine, actually, at the time... God, this might even be better now. At the time, this was debatably the best legendary in the game. Not a lot of people picked up on it either. It was actually super under the radar, but this is one of the best legendaries to ever exist in Arena. Period. And it might even be better now because of the standard rotation. Yeah. It's still probably weaker than Astalor. But Probably not even by a lot. Anyway. So they have some weird, like, SI7 Smuggler is going to be trash. Null is also trash. This is usually trash, but it can have its moments. Smokescreen is usually too slow. It's just a little bit too greedy. But Labomber is good. Recon is insane. Tooth is very good. Double Agent can work. It's a little inconsistent. Hero cards are not draftable. So this is like one of those hit or miss sets, basically. It's just, these are really, really good cards. 2 commons here. But there's a lot of, I mean, Yeti's good too, but this is kind of one of those hit or miss sets. What do we have, Matt? We have a meta 5. I guess that's in line with where we put Priest, so that seems reasonable. Next up, we have Shaman, or some would call it Shaman. So this is a set that used to be nuts, but they unfortunately no longer have nearly as good of a Snowfall Guardian. Well, I say unfortunately, but fortunately for anyone that is not a Shaman that has Snowfall Guardian in the deck. Fortunately for everyone else. But, yeah. There's a lot of very, very good cards in the set though. Wildpaw Cavern often wins the game by itself if you play it on curve. Don't Stand the Fire, one of the best AoEs ever printed, basically. Glaciate, probably you're gonna have a much lower chance of hitting the auto win, which is the Abomination. That'll be a lot less likely, so maybe that card won't be as good as it was. But a lot of just good cards here. Frostbite's solid, Windchill's solid, Sleepbreaker is slightly better than solid. Spirit Mount's not the best. This is like probably the weakest mount, right? But it's still okay. But still, yeah, a lot of just good cards. I don't know, I don't think Snowfall is really a great card to draft anymore though. But it's still not like it's terrible, right? It's just you would never draft it if you're trying to be aggro, you would only draft it in control. But overall, still a pretty good set for Shaman. We gave him a 7 for this. That might still be fair. It might be a little bit high, to be honest, but it's fine. I think it's still a 7 even after Snowfall. Maybe a 6.5, but it's pretty good. It'll be fine. We'll move on to Warlock. I'm not gonna spend too much time worrying about half points because we're just trying to, do the best we can with this, basically, right? Next up's Warlock. So Warlock has Grave Defiler, which was always situational, but anyway, this card was always a trap. Don't draft this. Full-Blown Evil is one of the best AoEs ever printed. This one's like even better than Don't Stand in the Fire. Summoner have its moments. Hall Abomination was one of those quintessential cards that's completely unplayable and constructed. Almost. There were some decks that played it, actually. Very limited, though. But it would be one of the best cards in Arena. Spawn of Deathwing, exactly the same. It's one of the most powerful and oppressive Arena cards ever made. Fellfire is pretty good as well. Infestation also. So this was 2 different AoEs were printed for, well, 3 actually. Just really, really good cards. Some kind of filler that's not always great, but these are just really, really good premium cards here, so overall, very good set. Even Graveyard was often very good. If 4 AoEs, but Tamsin's not draftable, so we don't include that one. What did we give him here? We gave him a 6.5. I think that's fair, because even though they have a bunch of really good cards, they have a lot of the filler as well, so it seems okay. We'll stick with that. Let's move on to Warrior. So Warrior, they have a Nixian Drake, which is really good. This would have its moments, but it'd be situational, kind of. This is, I don't think, very great anymore. It's kind of bad, bad. Good, but not that good. Pretty good. And usually a little too hard to pull off, but sometimes it would have its moments. There is going to be a bit more armor synergy viability because of the new cards put into Warrior, specifically the giant taunt minion. But overall, still probably going to be a trap, though. Overall, I guess this is It's a pretty good set for Warrior because like they get like 1 mana kill anything, shoulder check. Some good cards, a lot of pretty good cards actually. For Warrior, this is actually a good set. For other classes, it probably wouldn't be, but this is a good set for Warrior, I think. We have him at a 5 here. I think I'll bump him up to like a 5.5. Seems reasonable, but yeah, overall not super crazy. Then we'll go over very quickly the commons, some of the really impactful commons. Ibis is a legendary, but this is where Ram Commander was. Trog usually wasn't the same beast in Arena as it is in Constructed, but Bunker Sergeant's a very defining card. You're going to have this and Street Sweeper both in. A lot of neutral AoE available. Otherwise, Gear Grubber, you have to keep in mind on your opponent to see when those come. Oh yeah, and Night Captain coming back. Bloodguard, Hippogriff, Spammy. Ooh, a lot of cards. Well, this was already... Wait, this wasn't in core right now, so... Yeah, that's coming back. Luamu Lieutenant was banned. We'll assume will still be banned, and this is where Raid Boss Onyxia is, and Localar. And Localar, there's going to be several ways to discover as well, because Mage has a new Elemental Discover, so that's going to be a card you're actually going to see pretty often. But, yeah. Pretty good set overall. Warder's probably going to be a trap, because there just aren't going to be enough dragons in the game, probably, so that'll be something to, something that was relevant normally, but probably not going to be as big of a thing as it was back when these cards came out. So with that, we will move on to Sunken City. So Demon Hunter here first. Probably take a sip. I have been talking a lot. Some of these cards, by the way, on the website are messed up. Abyssal Depths. I thought it was a bug because I got a 3-mana Abyssal Depths in Tavern Brawl, and I thought it was a bug, and I looked up and I was like, oh, they actually buffed this card. It's just wrong on the website. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Like, this is actually, you know, the difference between 3 and 4 mana, it makes this a lot more draftable. The thing is in Arena is that you're just not tutoring stuff anyway, so a card like this is going to be a lot worse than it would be in Constructed, right? You're not going to be building, like, you know, OTK Horseman, Death Demon Hunter, or whatever, like you would be in Constructed. So, anyway, overall, there's some pretty good cards here. Some of these things just have like weird conditions though, right? But Glaive Shark is an extremely good Arena card. Dredge is back. I have missed Dredge very much for Arena. Dredge is a great Arena mechanic. But yeah, these are two really good cards. I guess Fossil Fanatic. You usually have Fell Spells to draw, so it's good too. This is a good common as well, so very good set. It was a lot worse when this was 4 mana, but that at least being somewhat draftable at 3 is good too, and Defector is pretty good. Probably won't have a lot of Nagas, but you never know, I guess. And Colossals are coming back, so I'd say this is probably not a 7, but this is a pretty good set for Demon Hunter here. What do we have him at? 6? That seems fair. We will stick with that. Next up is Druid. So Druid, there's the Flipper Friends. Very good Arena card. World of Nature can be very good, but it was a little hard to pull off sometimes. You didn't always have the early nature spell to trigger it initially. That was usually the issue. But it's very good. Kolak, by far the worst Colossal. Still by far the worst Colossal, I guess. It's really a tragedy, but pretty serviceable cards here. Gardens was kind of a trap a lot of the time, to be honest. A lot of times, even when you had Sunken Gardens at the bottom, it wasn't really worth pulling it up over some card that actually gave more value. It's kind of funny. But, you know, Quag Form's good. These two cards really just being, like, you know, the key cards here. Flipper and Miracle Growth. Miracle Growth, however, was nerfed pretty hard in offering rate. And Kolak now 6. I don't think so, is it? I don't think so. But, yeah, pretty good cards. If you can get spell damage, there's a lot of spell damage that's been put into the game, actually. So Moonbeam is probably a lot better than it was. At the time, Moonbeam was just never active. You never had spell damage, but you're going to have spell damage probably more now. So that'd be a thing to watch out for, too. But overall, yeah, I mean, If you're assuming that Miracle Growth is at a high offering rate, this is a 7. I think we have meta 7 here. Yeah, we don't know that. Currently, as of last time this card was in Arena, this was heavily penalized in offering rate, so that would make it a lot worse. But, I don't know. Still a very good set, so we'll keep him at 7. Next up, Hunter here. Hunter has some very good cards here. Barb Nets is good if you can combo it, but that's going to be very hard. So, probably not great. Couple situational epics here, but they're high rarity. Hard card to pull off, but very good if you can make it work. And these cast 3 spell cards are probably going to be slightly more easy to pull off because of the increased number of spells in Arena due to all the sets in. But Naxxramas very good. This was not great because you really don't want to play a 3-mana draw 2 in Hunter. It's a little too slow. But Harpoon Gun's crazy good. Shell Shot's good sometimes, and if you can get spell damage, it's insane. Card's good. Card's good. Card can be very good if you can double a reach spell or something. So pretty good set for Hunter. Oh yeah, and Hunter also has one of the best Colossals. So let me see. We put him at a 5 here. I think that's a little too low. I think we'll give him a 6. These ratings were done without the mini sets, so I'm not gonna. We could look and see which cards were added in the mini set, but yeah. I think this is a little better because Naxxramas insane. And there's some value to the Colossal too. Anyway, let's move on to Mage. So Mage had a lot of the really good mech stuff. The only problem with that, which is very good at the time, the only problem with that is that, again, there's a lot of dilution because there's going to be so many cards in Arena, 1400 cards basically. So that stuff's not going to be consistent at all because they have not printed a lot of mechs this whole year. So that's going to be that's going to hurt a little bit. Like, these cards are still independently like fine, right? But we probably need to lower the rating a little bit because of that stuff. And also, like, Siren I know got nerfed. It's not like you've drafted this a lot in Arena anyway, but this card also got nerfed. But, you know, Jellyfish is good. Sometimes this is good. Volcanomancy could work. This card would usually be pretty good, but let's see what we have it rated at. We have him at a 6. I think due to the loss of synergy, I'll just take off half a point from them. Seems reasonable enough. Still a decent set, but again, like, the mech stuff just isn't going to be as good as it was. Next up is Paladin. So Paladin, radar detector, again, kind of the same issue, right? That you just aren't going to have the same mech count, but some of this dredge stuff is really good. Seafloor Savior is insane, especially if you can get multiple of them. It works the exact same way with Mooncatcher and stuff as you would do it in Constructed. Bubble Blot again is good if you can hit it, but it's going to be even hard. It was already pretty hard to hit, and now it's going to be even harder. But Sunfish should be good. Immortalizing Stone. The thing that's funny is, like, that card was really good at the time, but, like, I don't even know if that's, like, enough stats for even, like, modern Arena. Like, it's still good. Even back then, I kind of felt like it was slightly overrated, to be honest. And I think it's not going to age even that well. But it's still very good. They have one of the best Colossals as well. Light Ray is a little hard to make work exactly, but Garden's Grace can work. This is very good as well. Still a very, very good set. Again, we might punish them a little bit because of the they were at a 7. I think, I mean, really, they only lose. It's probably still just keep them at a 7. It's still a very, very good set, so we'll keep them there. Next up, we have Priest. So Priest here eliminates, usually not worth it, and I think this card wouldn't be as bad. There's probably gonna be a lot of card draw. There might actually be a chance you could make this work. Patch should release in 5 hours, I do believe. But this could be something you could theoretically get value out of. I assume the shellfish is in the set too, but you usually don't want to try for that in Arena. But there's some good drops here. Switcheroo should be... Switcheroo is probably not great, because honestly the swap is probably makes it worse? I don't know. Still a little slow. Drown is cool. Ritual can be good. Disarming Elemental, I forgot about that. You didn't see it very much either. Overall, not a great set. They also have one of the weaker Colossals, but Whirlpool is at least a thing if you can manage to get it at Epic Rarity. That could be good for the control decks, but not a great set overall. Not terrible though. We have them at a 5 here. I feel like that's okay. They have some good cards. We'll keep them at a 5. Next up, we have Rogue. So Rogue here has... Oh yeah, one thing to keep in mind. A lot of people probably don't know this card exists. Because, I don't... Has this card ever seen play in Constructed? I don't know. But this card also sees no play in Arena because it was banned on release in Arena. So... yeah. Don't have to worry about that one. But still, this is a very good set for Rogue. Rogue has one of the best tempo Colossals, but one of the lowest value Colossals, but very good regardless. Blood in the Water is an insanely good card. This is insanely good. This is very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. In Arena usually crap, but very good and decent. So, very, very good set for Rogue overall. Probably have them at a 7. Yep, we do. We will keep them there. Next up is Shaman. Shaman. So, interesting thing with Shaman was, Shaman particularly, let me check this actually. Shaman used to be really broken with Scroll, because Scroll only had 2 options for Fire Spell at the time. It would either give you Scalding Geyser or it would give you Don't Stand in the Fire. And so that meant you had the choice to do this, which would dredge up the Sunken Scroll immediately, or you would get, 5 mana deal 10. So either way, that would be really good. I'm assuming now, let me just check this really fast. I'm assuming that there's a new Fire Spell in here. Let me just check this actually, because I'm curious. Yeah, so now you can get Blazing Transmutation, or you can get Perpetual Flame. So there's less consistency, but you have 2 different AoEs, and you still have that Dredge option, or you have Blazing Transmutation. So I mean, you're still always going to get a good card off of the Fire Spell. This one, this card was nerfed. Now it's very expensive, but yeah. In any case, like, Discover is still going to be very good when you're discovering from Standard. So they have a couple of Murloc things, which are not great for Arena, because you usually don't have the things, but Schooling's insane, Poacher's insane independently. Command Neptulon is, like, one of the best Arena cards ever made. Tempo-wise, at least. Yeah, like, so just still a very, very good set. Overall, like, 5 really, really good cards here, so... What do we have here? Yeah, we have them at a 7. That seems reasonable enough. So next up is Warlock. Warlock, unreleased, this was a really bad set for Warlock, because a bunch of the curse cards, like Cultist was a 3-mana 2/3, I believe. I think this was a 3/4, but that was fine. What else? There was something else that was changed. I don't remember, but it was not a great set because, like, the Murloc stuff, you didn't really have enough Murlocs to make it work, so it was a little bit weird. And, like, Drag Below was okay, but, like, it's just a Shadow Bolt, which isn't great. And Immolate's kind of not pickable. But I don't know. Looking at them now, though, like the Murlocs, since the Murlocs and like this Curse guy, they're at least drops. They're fine, right? They're just not super great. And they do have Gigafin, which is like arguably the best Colossal. I don't know, maybe not in such a high power level rotation because people just a lot of time have ways to deal with it. But so overall it's probably fine. We have at a 4 here, which might be a little low. Because the cards are fine, right? But I don't know. We're in a meta where it's like you don't just want a bunch of like spider tanks, right? So it might be a little low. I'll give him like half a point at least for Gigafin. I'll put him up to like 4.5. Seems okay. And last up we have Warrior here. So Warrior, they have a couple really good cards. Trent Stalker is kind of insane. Better than you would actually think even looking at it. Tidal Revenant was nerfed for a while, but they unnerfed it. So this is an extremely, extremely good card for Warrior. Be very good because they also have very good because they also, you know, think about it. Yeah, you're right. I think the yeah, the Murloc was 4 mana, that's true. I'll bump them up to 5 actually. What do I have Warrior at? Warrior's also 5. They have some of the armor synergy is what I was gonna say. So Trident's a good Reg reward. There's ways to cheat it out. This is a solid card. Fires is a way to make your bad deck not bad. This card's okay. This card's... One thing that's interesting actually, this card was hard to do because you didn't actually get enough weapons back then, but you should have way better weapons now. But From the Depths is really bad, but and this is really bad, but this is really bad too. So some really good cards, some situational slash bad cards, or just kind of mediocre cards. Pretty good set for Warrior though overall. So we have him at a 5. Maybe keep him there. Maybe give him a... Would give him a 5.5. I think I'm going to give him like... I'll give him half a point because like I think this is gonna... The weapon synergy, if we're assuming that the adjustments are gonna stay, which I think they are, they're gonna get some extra value from that. We'll bump them up a little bit. And then, so then let's talk about the neutral cards here. So neutral, we have Bubbler's gonna be a thing again. Some significant ones. A lot of the neutral mechs were in. Amalgam of the Deep is in. This is going to be very broken if you can get it, particularly in Death Knight. You're gonna pick this in Death Knight over literally anything. Unless it's like a premium Death Knight card. You pick this over anything. This is just win the game in Death Knight, very likely. But divers are gonna come back. Some of the good like Naga and Elementals, some of the good tribe minions, and a bunch of dredges obviously. A lot of really good cards here, right? Starfish unfortunately got nerfed and that's gonna make it a lot harder to draft in Arena. But yeah, just a lot of really solid cards here. Oh yeah, and then Mothership. Any Mothership fans in chat? We have a Mothership emote for this. Arena players will understand the reference. But anyway, so that's it for the sets we've actually continued already. Let's move on to Naxxramas. Now we actually have to make up ratings again, not like this. So let's see. Starting with Demon Hunter here as I take another sip. So this was a very bad set for a Demon Hunter in Arena because, you know, you can't actually draft full, like, discard Demon Hunter with all the glaives and everything consistently. So a lot of these cards end up being just not good. Magistrate is still independently insane because you'll often be able to use it anyway as long as you're drafting low curve. But the other thing is that Brand was already not great. Brand was bugged though, so it made it a little worse. But they also nerfed it, so it's even worse. And the relics are all, you know, even at the time they were a trap. Even with offering bonus, they were a trap, and now they're like completely unpickable because you're just not getting them, right? Like you're not getting enough. It's not happening, and you shouldn't even try. So you'd still pick the legendary though. And yeah, relics. The website, as we mentioned, is not always accurate. This was nerfed to 6, so. At 5, you might even just take it, but at 6, it's, you know, even worse. So yeah, like Bibliomite was still kind of a good card because if you had it early, it would still be powerful. But yeah, overall, still a couple good cards, right? Magistrate's still good. Glaive is insane if you actually do get it, but otherwise, just not a lot here. Right, this card's hilariously unplayable, right? So, this be our lowest rating yet. Do we give him a? It's hard to give him like. I think we still give him a 4 just because of these two cards holding up the set, basically. But otherwise, like, man, I'm tempted to give him a 3, but I think we still give him a 4. Oh, no, not like this. So small. Formatting will. I think we'll still give him a 4 because they do have 2 really good commons. And this is a pretty good common too, so I think it's okay. Next up is Druid here. So Druid, Due Process is probably in contention for being the worst arena card ever made. Let's see, Attorney Maw is really good. Blind Evidence really good. Natural Cause is really good. Plot of Sin, one of the best infused cards. Back then, you would just have a terrible deck. You would just try to infuse and win the game off of this card by itself, right? I had some really good Whomper decks too. It's pretty good stuff. Convoke also is a thing that you can discover or draft. So a lot of good stuff. This was a little slow, right? You didn't really want this, and some of these are a little situational. Incarceration always seemed to be worse than This card never had any impact. I thought this would be really good, but it just seemed like no one ever used it. It's kind of weird, actually. But in any case, overall, a pretty good set. Maybe even a very good set. It's at least a 6. This might even be a 7. Didn't know Due Process existed in Hearthstone. There are some mill druids in both Standard and Wild, right, that actually do use this. But I kind of feel like a 6 is too low and a 7 is too high. I think we'll give him a 6.5. That seems reasonable enough. Druid has like a terrible Barons and just, oh yeah, like 4 insanely good sets. Next up is Hunter. Okay, do we really need to talk about this set? Do we give him an 8 for this set? Do we really need to talk about this? I don't think we need to talk about this, to be honest. There are a couple bad cards in this set. Like 2. Or 1. Yeah, like even with offering rate nerfs, like I think we give them an 8 out of 7. How do they get an 8 out of 7? It's because we don't make any rules. Or we don't have rules, we make the rules. So I think because of the expectation that stuff is still going to be nerfed in offering rate, I think we only give them an 8. Otherwise it would be higher. But anyway, let's move on to Mage here. So Mage, Frozen Touch is one of those cards that probably not so much anymore, but you know, one Frozen Touch could carry an entire deck to like 10 wins back in the day. Or even further. I had a terrible 12-win deck that just had 1 Frozen Touch. It's actually insane. But yeah, Objection, one of the better secrets ever. Sanctum was nerfed. When Sanctum was buffed, it was one of the best cards ever. When it was nerfed, it was still only like the 10th best card ever. But yeah, Sanctum's still very good. Suspicious Alchemist, one of the better alchemists. Very easy to combo if you can destroy it yourself somehow. And some of the secret synergy that's actually pretty good to make some of the other to reward you for getting baited into drafting secrets. Pretty relevant. Life Sentence, very good. Cold Case, one of the better cards to exist. Deathborn, one of the better cards to like ever exist too. Very, very, very strong set, right? This is a like this might be an 8-2 to be honest. Because like the worst cards are the high rarity ones. I mean, this is really good too. You almost never saw Kel'Thuzad get played. But yeah, like, these are just all good cards, basically, assuming you have the Secret Synergy, which you don't always. Maybe it's only a 7 because of these being kind of a trap sometimes. But I don't know, these are really, like, obviously all the skeleton cards are huge. I think we'll give them a 7. It seems reasonable. I'll review again just for anyone that's coming in, by the way. We're basically reviewing all the cards in standard because our intent is to, first of all, just go over all the cards that are rotating back into Arena, but also evaluating the power level of all the classes just based off of essentially looking how good their cards are, because that's mostly how that works in Arena. It's just who has the most good cards, it's going to be the best class. Until Blizzard does something to mess with it, but, you know, we'll see. Anyway. Next up is Paladin. So Paladin, a lot of dude synergy cards here. This is just a very, very good set for Paladin as well. This is just an insane set. There were so many powerful things, man. Like, promotion. I don't think promotion was. What did they do to promotion? What was the change? I forget what it was. Someone in chat can tell me. But like, a lot of this, unfortunately, can't do. But like, this is very good. This is insanely good. This can be good in some decks, but usually pretty good. Is that it? They only added Taunt? I was wondering if they changed the stats, but yeah. Jury Duty is extremely good. Muckborn is insanely good. This can also give you. This can give you like both the Colossal and also the Hero now. I don't know if the Hero was actually in with this before, but now you can even get the Hero card off of this. So this might even be better than it was. Steward is very good in a drawn-out game. Biggin is probably the best infuse card out of all of them. Divine Toll is insane. So yeah, we probably give this an 8 as well. I think we'll just give them an 8. Yeah. Just because this is, again, one of the best sets ever made in any class. So, yeah. We'll move on. And yeah, like, God, that's insane. Because, like, Cariel's also the best hero card in Arena, probably. Yikes. Anyway. Next up. Priest here. They got an Usher. They have one of the best removals ever made. They have a couple of K cards. They have the second. Actually, after the skeleton nerf, this might still be the best. This might be the best location until maybe. Is this better than the Death Knight one? It might be better than the Death Knight one, actually. I think it is probably better than the Death Knight one. Probably. Not sure. Anyway, yeah, this card's insanely broken. Identity Theft, one of the better win conditions. Partner in Crime, it's going to be unlikely you actually get this combo. A lot less likely than it was, but still, you know, that's a way to auto-win. You can also combo this with literally any buff card ever. So, very good. Boon, still going to be a thing. Queen the Scene, one of the better AoEs ever given to Priest as well. So this is a very good set for sure. Clear Conch is also okay, but just a little bit expensive. So overall, it's not an 8, but this is probably only a 7. It's just such a crazy good expansion. I think we'll just give them only a 7. If the location was a common, that might make it an 8 also, but I think we'll give them only a 7 because of that. Next up here we have Rogue. So let's see what we have in Rogue here. Graveyard, unfortunately nerfed, but that wasn't a super great card in Arena anyway. Private Eye would bait you into drafting secrets, which you probably do not want to do. But Bone Spike's a good card. Perjury. Perjury actually is one of the better secrets to ever exist in Rogue. because they're all bad. I guess Double Cross was kind of okay too. It's gonna be harder to play around. A lot of the time you just wouldn't, people just wouldn't have spells back then, but that's gonna be a lot less likely. You're gonna always get this draw pretty, wait, no, this is not the spell one, this is the when they spend their mana. That one's where it's like you always get the draw if you play it early, but if you play it later, it's not good. Why does the location ghost no longer stealth? They nerfed it for constructed. For Miracle Rope. But yeah. These are very good for rogue secrets, but they're still not. I mean, Kidnap, the thing with Kidnap was like it was always risky because your opponent could just play a Valkyrie. Like they could just play a Swashbuckler and then you just give them another Swashbuckler. But Kidnap could be good. It was high risk, high reward basically. And there's the spell one that a lot of times you just wouldn't get, but it's probably gonna be a lot better now because people are gonna have more spells. And Stenographer wasn't really very playable, so it's like overall these are cards that are like, and this was a little weird to make work too. I don't think this is a great set. It wasn't terrible though, right? It's just a little bit more combo oriented. Oh, Draka used to be 4. I didn't even know that. It's a little too combo-y for Arena basically. Just not going to be super consistent. So I don't know, maybe this gets a 5. Is this better than, we had Demon Hunter at 4. It's better than Demon Hunter was, right? Yeah, I'll give him a 5. Seems reasonable enough. I think that's fine. Next up, we have Shaman, also known as Shaman. So here they have Convincing Disguise, pretty insane. Muck Pool's a very good location. I mean, all locations pretty much were insane. Chisel, very good card. Card was terrible. Framster's okay. Party Favor Totem, which funny was kind of a trap because you fill your board with totems and you'd actually just run out of, like you just couldn't take advantage and you're just like, oh, I have no board space now, great. This card would be really good if you had some of the evolve, and there's the new evolve card coming in as well, so this evolve stuff can work. Promoto Wave, it's not great usually, but it could have its moments obviously. Criminal Lineup was a way to just win a game automatically. It was very risky to try to go for it, but it could work. And Torghast Custodian is a very good late game card. One of the better ones ever. So, couple misses, but I mean, overall a very strong set. It's definitely at least a couple not so great low rarity cards though, but definitely a strong set. I mean, it's at least a 6. It's at least a 6 out of 7. Might be a 6.5. I feel like 7's a little bit too... 7's a little bit too high. Maybe not though. Honestly, it's a very good set. I think 7's fine. We're kind of rating out of 8 anyway because of the set, so I think 7's okay. Next up we have Warlock. So Warlock, this is where they have a whole bunch of the Imp synergy. So the thing is that most of these Imp cards are not super great because you just don't expect to have too many Imps, but they do have like the Imps in Core, for example. So like, people are probably going to get baited by this because right now it's pretty easy to get Imps actually, but it's going to get harder because the card pool is just going to be so large that it's going to dilute it a lot. So the Imp stuff's a little bit worse. I mean, Imposter was always terrible. But in any case though, Mischievous Imp is still an insanely good card. Regardless, it's pretty good without the Infuse and insanely good with the Infuse. Tome Tampering, the worst, also in discussion for one of the worst arena cards ever. But Shout Waltz is insanely good. This could be okay, it depends, but usually not something I want to pick. Habeas Corpuses was always actually super underrated. Because it's kind of like a removal and sometimes you get like Death Rattle or whatever. Expansion release should be in 3.5 hours. Arson Accusation was really good too. So overall, I mean, it's like very good, very good, very good. But then the other set, the rest of the set's like kind of a little bit weird. So overall, it probably gets it to a 5. I want to say. I think we'll just say it's a 5. Some good cards, but just a little bit too much crap, basically. I give a higher rating. Next up is Warrior. So Warrior had... What's funny is that we didn't have a lot of time where Sanguine Depths was actually draftable. This card was undraftable for like several months in Arena. I think it took them like 3 months to actually fix the bug that it wasn't draftable. It was a really random card that they just never had in Arena for the longest time. But Anima Extractor is, you know, one of the best 2-drops ever made. Vermonia Living Blade is buffed, and there's ways to discover... Are there still ways to discover Rush? Actually, there might not be as much anymore. Because you don't have, like, athletic studies. Oh. That's too bad. But, this card's good. This card... Wow, you can just curve straight into this with the armor, dude. That's actually insane. Because that's only 4 more armor, and the new 3-drop in Warrior gives you 4 armor. That might be a thing. That might be a lot better than it was then. Imbued Axe is insanely good. They buffed it. They buffed it too, right? Since it was in Arena, I think. What did they do? They just made it like... I forget what the change was exactly. Did they take one off the Infuse, or did they change the stats, the stat buff? They just took one off the Infuse, right, I think? I don't know. But anyway, Suspicious Pirate was always one of the better Suspicious cards, because it was really hard to guess as well. But, man, this card's always pretty decent. Was it that? Yeah, it might have been +1/+1. But, yeah, anyway. This card's just terrible, though. This card's risky. Riot was good, too. I mean, overall, there's a couple not so good cards, but this is a very good set for Warrior, actually. So... Warrior might actually be playable for once. But, yeah, I mean, this isn't a... I don't think we give them a 7 for those. A little bit too much synergy, maybe. I don't know, it's pretty solid. I don't think it's at the same... Like, it's good, but it's just like, you know, other classes have stronger locations and stuff. I think let's give him a 6. Seems fair enough, I think. We should look at this stuff. So, what are these totals at here? So, right now, Paladin is a big contender for #1 right now. This is before we're addressing the elephant in the room, which is Death Knight existing, right? But right now it's looking like a clear Paladin #1 here, because Paladin does not have a bad set this entire time, right? So Paladin is like clear #1 winning right now, and Mage should be good. Druid will probably be good unless they're still nerfed really hard. And, oh, Shaman should be really good too. So, yeah. And Shaman, there's the potential. That's the question, is that will the buffs applied to Shaman still apply? That'll be a question mark there. So, I think I might adjust this this factor, actually, because it's, I feel like that's too much of a adjustment factor. The cards that are buffed are so much lower power level than a lot of these cards. And, oh yeah, who's in last place right now? Is it still Warrior? Oh, Warrior. And it's like, these have been pretty good sets for Warrior, but they're still last place. They are suffering a little bit from, you know, not having a hero power and stuff. But Rogue is not much better, right? Rogue is #2 right now. But anyway, so now this is where we finally hit the introduction of Death Knight, and Death Knight gets to come up from behind and crush everyone. because we have not gotten to give any points to Death Knight yet. We do have hero power as a category, and Death Knight does have one of the best hero powers, so that's all the points they had for just having a good hero power. But now let's talk about Death Knight. As a mini spoiler, I'm pretty sure Death Knight's gonna get like every point available to them. So the one question is, obviously, so some of the cards are nerfed in offering rate currently, right? Like Mortician. All the discoveries basically are nerfed in offering rate. So Mortician is they do have this card nerfed in offering rate too. But other than that, nothing here actually. And the location's insane. This card's insane. This card's insane. It's funny that this card is pretty weak compared to just everything else they have, right? And there are a lot of high rune cards that you don't usually get to draft. But in any case, I mean, this is just having like Acolyte of Death and the location. It's just very hard to evaluate using the methodology we are because of, you know, the nerfs and the runes and everything. Because a lot of the runes, like Frost has nothing. Well, no, Frost has this, but like, you know, Unholy only has Meat Grinder, right? Like a Meat Grinder is not actually a good one, right? Unless you get double, but you know, they have locations, so I don't know. This is, I think you would actually say this is technically a weak set for for Death Knight, but I don't know. Like, we'll still give him the maximum score probably. Death Knight can have 10. And oh, by the way, we're rating him out of 10 instead of 7 because there is typically a offering bonus on the new set. So that is why we're going to be rating out of 10 this time. What's up, Dylan? How you doing? So, but honestly, I might be overrating this set. It's just, how good is this location going to be? Very, very good, right? What do these mean? These are runes, which are, there's a draft restriction on Death Knight cards. Someone in chat can probably explain it. But yeah, Death Knight's going to be weird because of the runes. But next up we have, you know, you might be right though, because like, it's just weird because like this card's insane, but you can't always, it does have an offering penalty, which I expect to stick. This is just really good. I don't know. Let's give actually Death Knight a sub-maximal score. This will be a little more fair. We'll give him only a 9. Next up is Demon Hunter. So, Demon Hunter here. What do they have? They have a lot of like really scrappy tempo and stuff, right? Scorn is bad because it almost never works, right? Wretched Exile is one of the best cards ever made in Death Knight, though. I mean, or in Demon Hunter. Felurian's great, really great if you can get it. This is just 4-mana deal 4, which is not great. Evoker can be really good, but it's also probably kind of a trap because it's going to be really hard to actually make work, right? This thing's usually not super great either, but this card's okay, and this card's great if you can get it. So, the issue with this set is that the low rarity cards aren't great, right? So this is not a great set for Demon Hunter here. Calamity's Grasp, yeah, this is good. But the low rarity cards critically are not great. So even though they have like this card, which is an Omega win condition, I don't know that I can give them higher than a 7 just because the good cards are really low rarity, right? So I think that's where I'll put them at right now, is a 7. We can always adjust this later. We'll see how it compares to other classes here. We'll keep it at that for now. Next up we have Druid. So this is another one where it's funny because some of the Druid cards are adjusted up, and one of them is Lingering Zombie, which is very, very good. And the new card, Rake, is definitely going to be a very good arena card. Flyer is very good. You're still going to have this tempo strategy, or the token tempo strategy, be very, very good. But, and you have an Unending Swarm in here as well. That's a lot of the low rarity cards. The one issue though is that I don't actually think Crypt Keeper is even draftable right now. I think they actually made that card undraftable. But you know, there's still some of these cards that are just not really draftable, but are not really good. But I think this is undraftable, and these are high rarities, so you never get offered them anyway. Beomancy's good, so they boosted this card actually really high in offering rate too. And this card's gonna be very, very good. This is gonna be a card that you're probably gonna see, and it's just a 6-mana 6/6, which is not good, but overall, like, this is still probably a 10, right? This card, I'm pretty sure this card will just be unfair, right? Especially because I don't even think this card is draftable right now, and it might, assuming it stays that way, then the set effectively just has no bad cards, and it's just really good. So I think this is actually, I think it's fair to say this set is better than the Death Knight set. So yeah, we'll give this one a 10. We'll keep Death Knight at 9. Moving up to Hunter. Hunter here. So Scourge Team is very good. This card's extremely good. This card's extremely good. Zombies is going to be extremely good specifically because of Naxxramas, I think. And oh yeah, I remember actually we forgot to go over the neutrals, so let me go back and go over the neutrals really fast for Naxxramas. But there's a lot of things you can maze guide. It's gonna be lower odds, but you can maze guide into Animal Extractor. That's gonna be a thing again. But the key thing is Sketchy Strangers coming back, Dusters coming back, and a bunch of the infused stuff is coming back, because we didn't really talk about that too much. And that's gonna be the most important stuff here. Also, Stoneborn coming back is a big thing for Arena. Devourer is banned if you're not aware, so that one's not a thing to worry about. But as far as we were at Hunter here, so this is a great card, but you just won't always have a 1-mana spell, so it's a little weird. But yeah, Spotter, Zombies, even Spitter's still gonna be pretty good probably. But yeah, like, dude, like, Zombies is just gonna win games by itself. Not by itself, because you're gonna need other infuse, obviously, but you know, because what you can do, for example, you coin Zombies on turn 1, and then your turn 2 is Frenzied Fangs, Murlocula, and then you just win. Like, your opponent dies in 2 turns. It's just so insane. So like that really is gonna just completely trivialize so many games. But yeah, this card's so good too. I mean, this is an extremely overall, like, there's some cards that are just okay, right? But there's really no bad cards here, right? Maybe Quiver, but Quiver's, you know, it's a high rarity card anyway. Maybe this one's not great either, but and Hope of Quel'Thalas, even though we're not talking much about legendaries, but that's also one of the better legendaries ever, so it's a very good set. I think I'm only giving him a 10 as well. Very, very good set here. Next up is Mage. So Mage has all the Arcane Bolt stuff, which is always a little bit weird. I made this set, like, I think you would say arguably a little bit weak, but now they have Trainee, which theoretically combos with it. Whirl Weaver's insane, because you'll probably have some elementals. It's not guaranteed in Mage that you have elementals, so this... Oh no, you don't even need an elemental, you just need to cast a spell, right? Yeah, so this is just insanely good. You can get Localar, or... what's the 10-mana Colossal? There, you can get both of those. Those are both elementals. And there's only like 20 elementals, so you're actually going to have pretty good odds of hitting them. So that's going to be a little insane. Also, the 8-mana elemental that draws... Yeah, Neptulon. The 8-mana elemental that draws your highest cost spell and gives you 1,000,000 stats, that's also going to be in. And that'll be really good with your Arcane Defenders you want to pull out of your deck. And other big spells for Parrots. And the other thing is that the buff to Vast Wisdom was huge because this thing at 3 mana really just wasn't great. People were picking it a lot, but they were kind of getting baited because it was just a little bit too expensive. But at 2, it's a lot more reasonable to take this. You guys saying anything wrong here? Is this why the card accidentally got changed? This was if you're not aware, there was a bug for a while that this card was unintentionally changed from a 3/2 to a 2/3, and it actually shows that here. I wonder if someone was it wrong here, and then someone went and like fixed it in game. That's really funny. But anyway, I mean, Energy Shaper is also a win condition by itself, and Terra Reality is a way to, if you want to just remove all skill from yourself and just get scam and just scam your opponent. This is how you do that too. So in any case, there's no bad cards in this set, right? There's a bunch of potentially very good cards here too. It's probably just another 10. Because yeah, just a lot of good stuff. Yeah, just give another 10. That's not mage. That is mage. Warlock, you have to earn your 10 Warlock. Next up, we have Paladin here. So Paladin has Flight of the Bronze. Currently, Flight of the Bronze is like legendary offering rate, but I mean, this is one of the best cards. This is one of the best cards in Paladin ever, which is saying a lot. But Paladin's gaining Night of the Dead, which is also just insane. And I mean, you go through this entire set, there's not a bad card in this set, right? Like everything is good. Time Warden was arguably maybe one of the worst cards, but now that they buffed that. Blood Crusader was probably by far the worst card in this set, but this is going to get better as well because the class card rate is probably going to be higher. And, you know, Daring Drake and Goldwing, you won't always have the synergy for, but they're still playable rush minions, right? So still probably above average. Seal Blood's insane, like, yeah. This probably is like, do we give him a 12 out of 10? Maybe we give him a 12 out of 10 for this set. Yeah, screw it. We're giving him a 12 out of 10. Because who cares about the rules? That's just insane. They also have ways to like generate Anachronos if you just somehow miraculously lose. Give him a 12. Anyway, Priest is up now. So Priest has a lot of really good cards. Mind Eater currently has a really high offering rate on it. Haunting Nightmare got buffed. Cannibalize is one of the new cards. It's very good. Grave Digging. The one thing is, which I haven't really mentioned yet, I guess, is that undead synergy is actually going to be a lot harder to make work, probably, because there just aren't going to be nearly as many undeads, unless you're Death Knight. But anywhere else, it's going to be actually a lot more difficult, so this might not always be that great, right? Same with Bone Caller. You're not going to always have good undeads, but you're still likely to have, like, Mind Eater, I guess, but it's going to be a bit inconsistent, which is going to hurt Shadowward Undeath too. So they have some good cards still, right? Mind Seer is not great, actually. This is really good and high offering rate. The new Dredge, 5 damage is a lot, right? And it's going to fit into the some of the synergies that they have. But it feels like, man, like it's just going to be inconsistent having all these undead synergies that aren't always going to work. So it's going to make Priest really high rolly, high low rolly. You're going to have good decks, you're going to have decks that just don't work as a result, because you're going to have to. I guess as of now, they still have the offering bonus on these cards, but yeah, that's going to be inconsistent. So that makes it just really hard to evaluate this objectively, because I don't know, there's a couple like low rarity cards that require combos that you're just not going to have. So I don't know. I mean, the set objectively, like Cannibalize is good, right? But it's more, I think you're going to want to play Priest more tempo-y, and this is more of a control card, I guess, right? I mean, it can be good for healing. I don't know. I don't want to linger too much on this. I think it's like the cards are good, right? So I'll give them like an 8, I think. But yeah, it's gonna be a little bit. It's gonna be a little weird for them, I think. Next up's Rogue. Rogue has a lot of good cards in this set. A lot of good cards. It's funny how you go to the most recent set and you're like, wow, all these cards are good. Funny how that works. Ransack, I guess, is one of the worst cards they have, but Concoctor's insane, Ghostly Strike's insane, Jolly Roger is as good as a 1-drop's ever gonna get, pretty much. Alchemist, if you have the other stuff's insane, but you often don't, so... Alchemist usually not great, but I mean, if you have Potion Belt's insane. Putricide, you win. What the fuck is this card? Stitch Creation is... I'm not sure exactly how good this card is, but I mean, this thing's insane, right? Like, on turn 8, it's almost always a 3-mana 10/10. And usually around like turn 4, turn 5, it's going to be a 6/6, or you can get a really early 4/4 sometimes. Like, it's just, it's always going to be good. This card's going to be insane. Card's insane. This card's insane. This card also insane. Is this better or worse? Let's see. We gave Paladin a 12. Is this better or worse than Paladin? Maybe it's the same. Probably worse, actually. Yeah, it's probably worse. It's at least a 10 though, I think. What did we give it to? Let me see, Mage and Druid. Those were both 10s. Is it better or worse than Mage? Maybe it's about the same as Mage. Druid, about the same. I think 10 is fair. Like, really, these should be a 9s, but we're just kind of inflating the ratings because we feel like it. So, yeah. I think 10 is fine. Next up is Shaman. So Shaman is a little weird because they also have a lot of weird combo-y stuff, right? I mean, Blazing Transmutation is a really good card in a vacuum. Really good, especially if you have a control Shaman. That's true, Rodin does bring it down, but... This card is really good, but this card's really good too. There's a lot of good control cards here. The thing is with this set is there's a whole bunch of kind of weird combo-y stuff. You're gonna have some elementals usually, but you won't always. You're gonna have, it's gonna be harder to hit Undead synergy specifically, and Unliving Champion was a huge card for them. They do have 2 really good legendaries, right? Rockill's insane, and Drakuru is also insane. This card's, I don't know, have they ever confirmed if it's a bug? Like, this thing makes it seem like it shouldn't work if it dies, right? But this actually works when it dies, even though it's probably not supposed to. It is a bug, confirmed a bug, okay. So this might be fixed. This might be fixed as of the patch, though. But, yeah, just a few kind of weird combo-y cards, right? But most of these cards are like at least sometimes good, right? It's just they're not all going to be consistent. So there's like Suffusion from the other side you usually don't want to draft. Sometimes you discover them, but you just don't really want to draft them. Prescience was good for a while just because, or is currently good just because you're so desperate for card draw and Shaman that you'll take it, but I don't think that'll be the case in the new patch, so I feel like this is a little too inconsistent overall to make Shaman super high rarity. Again, they have really good legendaries, but we're evaluating the commons a lot more than everything else. And because Unliving Champion and Aura are just going to be less good, I think. I don't know. I think we give them maybe a 7, maybe an 8. Is it better or worse than Demon Hunter? Where's Demon Hunter? Demon Hunter is kind of the same. It's just, I I feel like even the Demon Hunter cards are probably more consistent though. So, what did we give to Demon Hunter? We gave him a 7. I don't think it's higher than them. So maybe this is a 7. So Shaman was one of the front runners, but they're getting hurt by this set, I think. So that should make him a bit worse. You could give him, honestly, another point, though, just because Harkener Dread has super high offering rate currently. To be honest, though. That would be reasonable. I don't know. Let's give him an 8, actually, because of that. So now we move on to Warlock. Warlock has some kind of weird cards. Peddler, I'm not a big fan of. Plague Eruption is kind of weird. It's always a Volcanic Potion, but like, to me this seems really weird. Like, why are they giving a control card to discard Warlock? Like, isn't all versions of discard Warlock are aggro decks, right? Like, why would they print this card for discard specifically? Doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, just conceptually, like, control discard Warlock? A control discard deck just feels so weird. How's that a thing? But anyway, the thing here is that Walking Dead's very solid. Twisting Tether is, you know, one of the better cards to ever be made, frankly, outside of like legendaries. But undead stuff is going to be a bit harder to make work. So it'll be slightly worse, but still insanely good. Reanimator might be a problem, though, because this is just not a good card if you don't actually have the undead. So that's a bit riskier, but yeah, the other thing is that you have some of these weird discard cards and cards that require synergy, but most of the cards are like playable, right? You can do this for, this is playable, these are still like playable, so most of the cards are still playable overall. But they're not at the same level as a lot of these other things. Is it better than... We're not giving like a 1. I mean, this is still kind of close to like Demon Hunter, I feel. It might be slightly worse. Because there's still the high roll potential, but yeah, like a lot of it's just really weird. I think we give him like a... probably a 6. I think everything at 7-8 should move down a point. We already have, the thing is like, we already have everything like way up past 10, so like, they kind of effectively already are down there. So, it should be okay. Next up, we have Warrior. I guess this is the last like regular set we have. We have to do the Path of Arthas, and then we have to evaluate Detonate's core set. But Warrior, so they have some really weird like fire stuff that doesn't really work, but Last Stand, currently Last Stand is not actually draftable. It's a funny story, by the way, but because if you're not aware, Last Stand is not draftable because Warrior, to make it better, they actually banned some of the bad cards. And Last Stand at 4 mana was considered one of its worst cards, so they actually effectively banned it for being bad. The only weird thing is that they made Last Stand one of the best cards in Warrior, so now, but they didn't unban it, so one of the best cards in Warrior, which is the worst class that needs the help, can't actually be drafted. So maybe they'll fix that, but maybe not, who knows. But anyway, for this card, I guess this is still a 1-drop, right? So it's not that terrible, but you usually don't have this. But these cards are all good. Hook Fist can be very, very good. It seems like you're basically getting a free shield block any turn you have a weapon, which you usually do. And Smithing's very good. This should be pretty good as well. Spellbreaker's good. This card, if you can pull it off, I'm not sure how consistent that's going to be. Pretty good, but it's not going to be that bad even if you can't. It's still a 6 mana 3/8 taunt, which is actually, you know, okay. and might not be that hard to pull off. And Stalwart also pretty very good. So this is a very good set for Warrior as well. Warrior actually has a lot of good sets in this mode right now, it seems like. Like, look, we don't have anything below 5. They have very consistently good cards. It's just, the thing is that they don't have a hero power, right? And their core set sucks. But this is a good set. This is like at least, I think, at least a 9. Maybe even a 10. Probably, I think it's a 10, honestly. It's a very good set. So that completes it for them. Then we're going to go over the neutrals really fast. Obviously, Astlar's in the game. Here's where a bunch of, like, most of the undeads that are going to be in the game are here. There's going to be very little else. Crystal Broker's still there, but you guys know what all these cards are. All the Mathers cards are in. Vizier's in for Discover. If you play Arena, you're already familiar with all these. And oh, one bug that was fixed is that Sunwell was not draftable, but Sunwell will be draftable again. So not only will you be getting this a whole bunch of spell discoveries, you'll also be drafting it. So you'll be losing to it more often. But with the higher power level, you'll have more odds of actually being able to fight against the Sunwell, so maybe it won't be so bad. But there will be a lot more random spells in Arena. Hey, hey! And yeah, okay, so then we're going to start talking about Path of Arthas here. So a lot of the really good cards in Warlock, or in Death Knight, sorry, are actually in Path of Arthas, right? Here's this Discover is here. Malignant Horror is here, but thankfully it is banned. And we expect it should stay banned. Some of the really good cards to discover, like Scourge, Frostworm's Fury, Corpse Bride, the most accessible and high value Corpse Spender here. Blood Boil, I mean, there's just like so many good cards in this set. A lot of the really good Arena cards are in Path of Arthas, it feels like, right? Bonebreaker, Transformation, I mean, these are just a lot of really good cards. Are all the dragons inside? Are you talking about like in the rotation? Like Dragon Queen Naxxramas is coming back, if that's what you're asking. Or not Dragon Queen, but Raid Boss Nixie, I mean. Yeah, they won't accidentally unban Horror via bug, right? Surely. But yeah, there's a lot of cards here that are very, very good. So we give them, it's out of 14 because there's more cards in the Path of Arthas, and I think we just give them the max score of 14. And maybe I should technically give them less points here, but I'm not going to put too much stock in the rating for Death Knight anyway, because it's really, Death Knight specifically is really dependent on what Blizzard does, whether they unnerf them or not. But we'll talk about the Death Knight core set as well. So here they have a bunch of these kind of tempo cards. This feels like slightly worse. They do have Necromancer, which is super unfair, right? Frost Strike as well. Deathbringer. And Baron's here. Death Strike's here. Remorseless Winter's here. Army of the Dead's here. Possessed Fire's here. Sculptor's here. Yeah, a lot of very good cards. A lot of the really good cards are here too. Regardless of what your rune combo is, there's a whole lot of just insane cards, right? Cards to discover. So, yeah, maybe I'm thinking I was too generous to give them 9 here. I'll lower them to 8 for the other one, but they're also getting like, honestly, they're getting like 11 probably for the core set, so. I mean, the core set here, honestly, we should give them like 14 points or something, because this is so much, these cards are so much better. Like, let's just compare them to any other class, man. Like, what's one of the better core sets? Like, Paladin or Warlock? It's like, okay, Paladin is super, like this stuff just doesn't compare, right? Yeah, they have Aldor, Bronze Explorer, Warhorse Trainer. I mean, those cards are good, but a lot of this stuff is just not at the level, right? Warlock as well. Warlock got the maximum score because, like, okay, they have Abyssal and Imp King Boss and serviceable cards. But there's some filler in Death Knight too, I guess, but I mean the premiums are at another level. I guess this is around the level of an Abyssal. Maybe it's not that big a difference. I don't know. We'll keep it at that. So with that, that is it for our ratings. That concludes everything. We've only been doing this for 2 hours. Get a chance. So let's look at what the pre-adjust totals are. So the pre-adjust totals we have a clear number 1 here. Oh wait, do I need to... What, did I do this wrong? This is 39. Oh, I did this wrong. Why did I think for some reason I thought the denominator was different? Because there's only Death Knight here is only out of 39. So I thought it was out of 50 for some reason. Why did I think that? Oh no, I did something dumb. I mean, that denominator should be 39. Yep, so that makes Death Knight by raw card value, Death Knight is the clear number 1. But we do expect it to get nerfed. Or stay nerfed. Just got here, can you take it from the top? Yeah, I mean, you got to the summary part, which people probably on YouTube are going to just jump to at the end anyway, so it's perfect. But yeah. So if you're valuing by card value, I think Death Knight is the best still. Paladin is going to give him a run for its money, potentially. Paladin actually would be right up with them, except Paladin has the weaker hero, much weaker hero power, right? That's what our evaluation is right now. But yeah, and Paladin doesn't have like all, and Paladin has really good sets, right? They almost have the maximum score available. Which is that Death Knight literally does have the maximum score, basically. So, yeah, Death Knight's going to be... Death Knight, it's pretty clear from, you know, if we did at all a decent job of this, it's clear that Paladin and Death Knight have the best cards. What is like the tier 2 here? It would be Mage and Druid and Hunter, right? And maybe Shaman as well. Hunter and Shaman. So our guess would be like, you know, Paladin, Death Knight probably number 1. Mage and Druid also are tier 2. Potentially Shaman. This will be close, but maybe Shaman, Hunter number 3. And then kind of just everyone else at that point doesn't really matter. And the worst class should be Warrior. Priest also probably not going to be great. I think Priest is going to be high-low really, right? And Demon Hunter does not look great either, according to this. Neither does Rogue. There's going to be a lot of those classes at the bottom. If you're assuming that the stuff is unadjusted. However, we do expect, so we talked about a little bit in the beginning, we do expect there probably will be some adjusts done. If they retain some of the adjusts they're currently on, Shaman has a good amount of adjusts. I don't think they're going to be hugely impacted, because the thing is that they're adjusting up like Canal Slogger and stuff, which is great and all, but it's not the same power level as a lot of the other stuff, so I give them just a small boost due to the adjustment there. But Warrior should still probably have really huge adjusts. That might be enough to basically, according to this, I don't know if this is like a good factor to put for it, but like that would put Warrior basically at the level of some of the other classes near the bottom, right? But yeah, it's still, I still think, and we're probably assuming that Death Knight is also going to be hit. So yeah, that's the thing. I have the notes here. These are probably really small to read, but Druid and Hunter are both funny because they have old adjusts that heavily nerfed them, but they also have recent adjusts that buffed them. So I'm considering them just a wash right now, but we'll see how that is exactly. But so right now I'm assuming that they're not getting adjusted. So the conclusion is pick Death Knight every time. Basically, yes, but also Paladin, because Paladin's also going to be busted. Matt London essentially said that he was going to turn off some of the Dragon Discover nerfs too, so like I think Paladin's going to be mostly unadjusted as well, because maybe we should have a slight negative adjustment factor on them too, but I don't know. But yeah, like that would be the conclusion of our analysis, is Paladin and Death Knight are very likely to be by far the best. And also Shaman and Druid will very likely be good. Hunter and also Mage. Hunter will probably be playable, and Hunter's always one of those classes that you can do a lot with as a skilled player too. And then the other classes are just kind of not on the same level. That would be Warlock, Rogue, Demon Hunter. I think those classes are all going to suffer, and Warrior as well. Warrior's not going to be good. And Priest is going to be one of those like kind of gamble classes, I think, as well. It's kind of high-low roll. But we will get to see. This has been a much more, as we talked about in the beginning of the video, this was the last time we did it. We basically got 9 out of the 11 classes right. I made like user errors where I messed up Shaman and Druid. I underrated Druid pretty heavily, and I overrated Shaman. So it'll be interesting to see in the next couple of days how accurate we were with this. So yeah, that will be it though. So, and we'll see maybe part of the reason we're doing this is because the meta hasn't been great, so I felt like doing this rather than playing today. But yeah, we'll see if we'll try to correct our analysis to be able to do this for future rotations as well. But I hope this was fun for me. I hope you guys had fun as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks a lot for hanging out. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, comment, all those things if you made it to the end of this 2-hour video, or if you skipped to the end, either way, right? But because that works too. But yeah. So again, we'll see you guys in the next one.